Hey, can you hear me now, Daniel?
I am live and with you, my friend.
Thank you very much. Not your first live time as a broadcaster. I know you had a radio show, but how's it going there today? So far, so good?
So far, so good. I've got my 13 and 11-year-olds. They're both going on 29, and trying to keep them busy and happy is a challenge.
I can imagine. Well, speaking of family, as a Long Islander, you always have to justify being from Long Island when you're speaking to people from other parts. They think that Long Island is just this town and not just many, many towns. And anytime you want to say, I'm from Long Island, there's great people from Long Island. The top three, your family, Seinfeld, and Billy Joel. That not in order like that per se, but you are one of the people that I associate with Long Island, and it's wonderful to see that your new film, My Promise to PJ, is screening at the Long Beach International Film Festival, but not your first film screening at this festival, correct? Didn't you scream the wisdom to know the difference there?
I did. Actually, we won the festival with that film. It was, it's a great event, really classy. Excuse me. This COVID thing has changed, how the festivals are going. And it's very sad because that's one of the ones you want to go to.
Yeah. Did you spend a lot of time growing up around Long Beach? Now, you're from Massapequa, I'm from Belmore, but growing up in Belmore, Long Beach could be the other side of the world when you don't have a car.
Did you go to JFK?
I went to JFK.
Right on, man. No, I didn't spend a lot of time. As a kid, having a car meant you were some, really wealthy family. If you were a high school kid that had a car, we were definitely not that family. So, we had the one car with the broken muffler, station wagon with 6 kids in it. That was us. So we stayed in Massapequa.
But as an adult, because this is going to be your second time where you're the director of a film showing at this festival, had you spent a lot of time in Long Beach over the years? Because it's kind of one of those towns that's seen its ups and downs over the decades.
Yeah, I only know Long Beach from playing football in high school. They were a powerhouse football team, and going to the festival. Otherwise, I don't have a lot of experience being in Long Beach proper. It's great restaurants down on the water. The typical stuff when we were in high school and college, and we'd run down to Long Beach. But I lived in California for 25 years. I lived in Canada. I've lived in Europe, and so not a great demand for me to go back to the island unless I'm going back to see, go out to the Hamptons and see my brother Alec, or go to festivals. And so, Long Beach obviously is such a classy festival, and I enjoy it so much. I continue when I make a film to submit it to that festival because it's such a nice experience. Right.
Well, My Promise to PJ is the film that's screening there. When did you actually finish the film? Because as somebody who tapes interviews 5-6 days a week, sometimes you hear 2017 we finished it, and then other people go, no, we made it during the pandemic and finished it then.
Yeah. So for me, I made the film. I shot the film in 5 months. I did a couple of touch-up interviews after that. Mm-hmm. Post-production, which is very different than a scripted film. This is a documentary where I'm capturing things. I don't know what I'm going to get. When I'm scripting it, I have in my mind, right, where I'm going to make changes and do things, or possibly trick the audience to thinking. But that's not so in a documentary. I had 3 cameras with 60 hours worth of footage. So it was 180 hours in the editing room to trim down to 96, 97 minutes. So it was quite challenging. When you're there and some guy walks up to you and starts talking about something that's interesting, and that's a 3-minute piece or a 2-minute piece, even a 30-second piece. And when you're in the editing room, you realize you're really long. That first cut, was 3 hours, and then you start reaching out, because I'm not a hugely experienced documentarian. So I'm reaching out to other friends of mine who are renowned in the documentary world. And I'm saying, well, how long should I make the movie? I mean, is there a formula that, and it was interesting to me because I once asked Marty Scorsese, I said, you have movies that are 2 hours long and you have movies that are over 3 hours long. Yeah. What would you do? And he said, how long can you compel your audience? how long does it take you to tell your story, and that they're interested in sitting there, because if it's a really good story, they're not counting, they're not looking at their clock. You know what I mean? So, and that was the rule of thumb that I used in cutting this film together. It's a story about a young man who I knew his family. His mom and dad both grew up in Massapequa. His dad dated my sister Beth. His mother was one of my brother Alex's first girlfriends in junior high school. And I was called upon because I put it out there on social media that I'll help people get sober if they need my help. Mm-hmm. And he reached out to me to help her son. And he was struggling greatly with this terrible opioid problem that we have, particularly on the island. It's really rampant right now.
Agreed.
And
yes.
COVID has made it even worse. Mm-hmm. So to make a long story short, I helped him get sober. He got sober. I put him into multiple rehabs. And on that last one, I promised him that I would take him to run with the bulls in Pamplona, Spain, if he got sober. And he did. And then he suffered some very dramatic setbacks. And it's about keeping your word. And it's about a journey that I went on. A lot of people have watched the film and said, what a great thing you did for your friend. I did a lot of it for myself. I struggled greatly with what happened to PJ. And, mm-hmm. So I had hoped that maybe I would be able to do something that would help someone else by making the film. Maybe someone's going to watch this movie, and if it saves a single life, it was well worth it. So if you've lost someone unexpectedly, if you've lost someone or struggling, have a family member, or even yourself with a drug and alcohol problem, this is a documentary you would want to see.
Being such a personal, emotional film where you are the focal point at a lot of points of the film here, did you know outright that you wanted to direct and not just produce it?
I'm not a huge fan of producing. It's just one of the hats I don't. I'm a creator and a filmmaker. Mm-hmm. So, having made over 150 films as an actor, mm-hmm. I found that directing them is probably my calling. So I knew that telling the story would require me to have to direct it, but I had great help. I had Andy Bowles, who was my cinematographer, and I knew I could trust his eye and his way. Mm-hmm. And Nick Fry, my editor too. He was there for me, every step of the way when we had to make those really difficult decisions on what stays and what goes.
Well, on the end of being a director and an actor, as somebody who just did a lot of press junkets related to the Tribeca Film Festival, I can't tell you how many of the films, the writer is the director, is the lead producer, everyone is doing all of that. But when you started first having success in acting, not a lot of people were writer/director. When did you exactly say, I am a director? Because you did have credits before the wisdom to know the difference, but that was the first thing that, in my opinion, you did that people went, he's a director, all right,
Yeah, I'd say to answer that question, I've always likened acting on a project to being married in 4 independent marriages. You're married to the actors, you're married to the director,
yeah.
Then your personal relationship as what your plan or take on it is, and you try to meld those relationships into one and try to make it work. When you're a director, it's like being a parent. It's far more responsibility. It's now, you raise the child from the script, you start, shooting the film, and then there's all the post-production until you throw it up on a screen and they go away to college and now you're done. So I liken it to those 2 analogies in life. I think I'm pretty good at being a parent, so I enjoy the frenetic, crazy energy of it and trying to calm it down and get the job done. I have definitely clear visions of what it is I'm trying to accomplish when I'm directing, and it's very challenging.
Now, as you said before, you are a creative person, and that's why you're drawn to this craft. What that makes me super curious about is when you make a movie, sometimes it doesn't come out for 3 or 4 years, and then you have to do media, and then you're talking about something you already did for another year or 2. And I can imagine that could be draining because you want to focus on the new and the future per se. How do you handle that when you know you've wrapped a film and you're going to have to talk about the past? Do you have other creative outlets besides acting, directing, that kind of thing?
Well, you raise a really interesting point, and very poignant in my life right now. No other film probably in my career will accentuate that statement more than My Promise to PJ, because it's a story about keeping this promise to this boy. But I would challenge anyone to sit with their own family. My sister Beth's in the movie, my sister Jane's in the movie, Alec, Billy, and Steve are in the movie, and to have to relive those moments of them talking to me about what it was like when I was not sober, and how I wreaked havoc on this family and my career. And then so to sit with them and interview them and have them, essentially, bash me in many ways was difficult. But in an editing room and watch it over and 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 over, then you get the point. Then, now you're married to the film because I did produce it, I acted in it, I directed it. So now I'm going festival to festival. And when I watch, because I'm in the audience, I'll be in the audience tomorrow watching the film again here in Minnesota at a festival. And it's tough. It's a tough thing to swallow, to have your older brother, who you idolized in many ways and loved, and he was my hero when I was a little boy, say to me, yeah, I didn't want anything to do with you. You were a drug addict, so I didn't talk to you or really hang out with you for a decade, and then tell me the reasons why, so it's a tough pill to swallow. It is. It was necessary, and it was beyond the film. There was they got to have a voice. They got to actually sit with me. Not that we hadn't had these discussions, probably not in that detail. And again, the editing process of having to watch it over and over was almost like, I felt like I was some war prisoner being tortured. It was hard.
I can imagine. For me, having to edit these interviews before I put them out, I just have to listen to a couple of stutters that I did, a couple of word errors. I don't have to listen to traumatic things like you did as part of this. So kudos to you for doing such wonderful stuff on that end. Where I was going on the other creative outlet, and I find that people who excel at acting often have hobbies that are the exact 180 of acting. For example, they're a painter, they're a photographer. They just do something that they immediately see the result. They don't have to show it to anyone. No one has to judge it, and they go, that's it. Do you have anything like that personally, or too busy between family and these really intense projects?
Yeah, I have two daughters, and I raised them on my own. So that's in itself a full-time job. So, I spend a lot of time with my children. I am a hands-on dad. I don't have a nanny. I don't have the housekeeper. I don't have. I drive them 45 minutes each way to school, and I make their breakfast, and I make their lunch, and I make their dinner, and I have an organic farm at my house, and I live on a lake, and we fish for our food, and we're very self-sufficient there. So now being a dad and making movies is enough for me.
Self-sufficient is the key word, because this is such a self-sufficient project that you have. Plus, the home life is self-sufficient. So it doesn't sound like you need those other hobbies to keep yourself busy, because there's organically enough going on.
Yeah, I'm pretty busy.
Well, two last questions for you, and then you're a free man. And the first thing I touched upon, the whole Long Island thing, again, to outsiders, they just think it's a town, and people live on Long Island know it's hours to get from Valley Stream to Spionk or Montauk, or especially if there's traffic. But in your case, did you grow up going to concerts? Like, what were the concert venues before you got out of here?
Gosh, I remember seeing the Police at my father's place, the first gig they ever played in the U.S. And Jones Beach Theater, I helped with Bruce Abrams and a couple other guys build that deck for Ronnie Delsner that connects so we built. So yeah, I was the OBI, Pastime Pub. I bartended at. So I remember seeing Kiss before the makeup. Joey Ramone and the Ramones, and so yeah, no, I was definitely part of that scene in the '70s and early '80s. Long Island has a lot of great venues for music. So yeah, we scalped tickets at the Nassau Coliseum and all the way from the Beacon and the Garden and stuff. We made a ton of money when Michael Jackson would decide to do a concert. It was like great train all time.
Wow. Well, it sounds like sometime in the future I will interview you about the musical end of your life. But the last thing I want to know is, besides my promise to PJ, do you have a film or TV recommendation you could pass along to someone who needs a new show to start, a new thing to get into? And it's fine if you appeared in it.
I will tell you that I just signed a very lucrative production deal to shoot a new show called Perfect Brats, and it'll shoot down in Florida. I will be down in Florida. I'm the creator of the show with Chris Savino of Jerry Seinfeld fame. Chris is a very noted and respected producer in film and television. Chris and I have decided to team up with the G-Star School, very unique and interesting school that they have down in Florida. It's a high school that's has one of the most comprehensive studios and shooting facilities in all of America. And so in conjunction, the three of us, we are planning on, it looks like I'm going to direct Alec in another film. I don't want to give too much of that away yet. That's going to be interesting. Yeah, so look for Perfect Brats as a really interesting, unique format show. You'll see when you find out about it more. I don't want to give it away yet, but yeah, heading to Florida to shoot a TV show.
Congratulations on that lucrative deal, and congratulations in advance when you win another festival this summer here in Long Beach. So thank you for your time, and really looking forward to everything coming for me in the future.
Great, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to interview me. God bless you.
Paltrocast.